Hey everyone, it's Jamie. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a tutorial on how to do a Valentine's garland or a swag, whatever you want to call it. So the first thing you're going to need is some jute twine. I purchased mine from the Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to be using some of this Waverly paint in the color Crimson, and I purchased this from Walmart. It was on clearance for 75 cents. Next, I'm going to be using some of this thin ribbon that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. I was going to use the one with the little sloth on it, and I changed my mind and decided that I was going to go ahead and use the one that says, "I picked you." Now this ribbon is the 5/8 inch ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to be using some of the Color Your Own ornament. I picked these up from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using the one with the arrow through it and then just the plain wooden heart. Next, I'm going to be using some of the bandanas from the Dollar Tree. You will need 4 of these. This one is in the red and black buffalo checked print. Next, I'm going to be using some of the treat sacks from the Dollar Tree. You get 3 in a pack. I ended up just using 2 of those. A full materials list will be listed down in the description box, so make sure you check there to see everything that I used. Here I'm just showing you what the treat sacks look like and explaining that we will have to cut a hole in those. So we are going to go ahead and give our little wooden heart ornaments some paint, and I just painted mine with 1 coat of the paint, and I only painted one side. I did not paint the other side. That's up to you if you want to paint both sides. And I did just give it 1 coat because I like to see the wood grain through it. So while your little hearts are drying, we are going to cut our jute twine to the length that we want, and I cut mine down to 50 inches. Now, if you are using a longer piece of jute twine, you're going to need more material. So this tutorial is for the 50 inches. So next I am taking the bandana, and I am just folding the bandana in half. Next, we are going to be cutting this bandana into 2-inch wide strips. I'm using this little plastic clipboard looking thing. I am not really sure what it's for. I think it's supposed to be used for scrapbooking, but anyway, I'm just going to be using it to kind of help me get a straight edge. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you wanted to and you don't have one of these boards, you could use a ruler or whatever, or you can just freehand it. It's up to you. So I am just cutting these into 2-inch wide strips. And then where I'm showing you where the seams are on the bandana, I'm going to be cutting those seams off. Now that is up to you also. If you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to go ahead and cut these little seams off. So I'm just going to fold the bandana, this little strip, I'm just folding it back in half again. And then I'm just going to be cutting off the sewn edges of this bandana. So I'm cutting off this one side, and then I'm going to be cutting off the little seams on the end. So there is our strip with cut to 2 inches wide. Next, I'm going to be cutting this little strip down to 8 inches long. So you will get 2 8-inch long strips out of one of these little strips. And one bandana, it equaled out to be 18 strips that were 8 inches long. Next, I'm going to be cutting down the I Picked You ribbon, and I'm just cutting it down to 8 inches long, and then I dovetailed the end. And I ended up using a whole entire roll of that I Picked You ribbon. Next, I'm going to be taking the treat sack, and we are just going to cut off where the little drawstring is. Then I'm turning the treat sack inside out. And then I'm going to be cutting down where it's sewn, on the sewn edge there. So I'm just cutting the seam off on both sides. And here I'm just going to unfold it, and it's pretty long and I don't want it that long, so I'm just going to be cutting it a little bit shorter. So I'm going to cut it down the little fold seam of where it was originally folded. Now you can take the part that's just plain and save it for another project, or throw it away, whatever you want to do. So here is what the little flag looks like. Next, I am going to be cutting off the bottom corners of this flag because I just want it to come down into a point. And I am just eyeballing this. I'm not measuring it really. So after I get the little corners cut off, this is what it looks like. So here I'm explaining where we need to cut a hole in the center. And you want to get it, as centered as you can. This little flag ended up being about 4 inches wide. So I'm just going to measure about 2 inches in, and that's where I'm going to be cutting my hole. So to do that, I'm just going to take my little scissors that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be folding this little flag in half. And then you want to come down maybe a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, and just cut a little, teeny tiny little hole. And that's where you'll be stringing your jute twine on. Okay, so here I've already started on my little garland, and this is just to save some time. I went ahead and got started. But here I'm showing you where you want to leave a couple of inches of the jute twine out and then tie a little knot in the end. Then I strung on the wooden heart, and then I took the bandana, one of the bandana strips, I folded it in half, and then I tied it onto the jute twine. Now you only want to tie this one time, one little knot, and don't get it too tight. You want to be able to slide that up the jute cording. So I started with the wooden heart, and then I did 10 strips of the bandana, and then I did 3 of the I Picked You ribbon, and then 10 more of the bandana strips. And then I strung on one of the little heart flags. And then I went back in and put 3 more of the I Picked You ribbon. And then I'm going to continue with the 10 strips of the bandana. And I'm just doing this in this pattern and then alternating the flag with the wooden heart. You can do this any pattern that you want to do. It's totally up to you. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I wanted to thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.